This is a recording of the Chronicles of Clint Stone, Book 1, Bottoms Up, by Some Guy Named Ted.
I once witnessed Clint Stone kill an Earth without laying a finger on him. Not with any gun or any other weapon. What Clint did was to get the Earth to drink poison. Willingly. We had been traveling the galaxy for about a year at this point, and Clint was already well on his way to becoming famous. We had stopped in this seedy bar in some backwater city on Biad because Clint wanted a drink. "What are we doing here?" I asked the hulking human at my side. We were sitting in a dimly lit establishment, a rest stop on the way to Maked. The place smelled of roasting flesh and burning rubber. Not a pleasant combination, I can assure you. There was also a certain smell that I could not identify, but it turned my stomach even more than the meat and rubber smell.
It's been almost 2 years since I've been to Earth. I need some beer,
Clint Stone replied.
and this place is the only place for several systems that sells alcohol.
Alcohol? What did Clint want with the stuff backwater farmers used to power their engines? I was about to find out.
Hey, buddy, do you think you can get out of the way of the vid screen?
That barely intelligible sentence came from a grouchy slouched in his chair. I turned my head to see who he was talking to. It was Clint.
Of course. My apologies.
Clint said, uncharacteristically calm and polite. He moved down the bar.
Barkeep, get me a beer.
The barkeep stared at him and slowly reached for a mug. He filled it with a dark, frothing liquid from a massive wooden barrel behind him. The barkeep moved carefully, taking care not to spill a drop of the beer. He set it down in front of Stone and left to tend the other patrons. Clint took a gulp and sighed.
That is the best thing I've had since Earth.
Clint sighed.
Quite possibly since some time before.
"Can I try some?" I asked Clint. I didn't know what it was, but he seemed to enjoy it.
Do you have a liver?
"What's a liver?"
Then trust me, you don't want this.
"Why not?" I was curious as to the contents of the beer, so I reached for it anyways. Clint's hand slammed down on my paw with enough force to shake the bar top. I pulled my hand away, shaking to relieve the sting. Clint's green eyes bored holes in mine and his face hardened.
You do not want this. It will kill you if you don't have a liver,
he said harshly. I nodded and gulped. Clint was scary when he got angry. You would think that after a year of traveling with him, I would have allowed me some time to get used to it. But I hadn't.
If the little fuzz cannot hold his beer, you can give that to me,
sneered a badly spoken tongue. It was the again. He seemed to be in a mood to antagonize Clint. I knew from experience not to do that, and what happened to people who pissed Clint off. They invariably ended up with broken limbs or worse.
I don't think so, friend,
answered Clint.
You don't look like you could manage it.
I don't know what Clint was talking about. The Earth was over 7 feet tall, the tallest of all the species in the galaxy, and he was even bigger than Clint. That, combined with the razor teeth and hooked claws, made him look like he could manage anything.
You wanna bet?
Slobbered the Earth.
I'm not gonna outdrink a puny thing like you. Barkeep, a beer.
Clint's face twisted with anger, but underneath I could see... What was that? Joy? Why was he being joyful?
It's been a long time since I've had a drinking contest,
chuckled Clint.
What do you say we have one right now? Beer for beer.
I accept,
said the Earth, slamming his fist down on the table.
Barkeep, get us some beers. We're gonna have ourselves a little contest.
I looked around and saw that the rest of the patrons had stopped what they were doing and turned their attention to the Earth and Clint. A space was cleared in the center of the room. A table and 2 chairs sat down. Clint sat in one, and the Earth sat in the other, facing Clint. The barkeep brought a platter of mugs filled with beer.
Only 3 beers apiece. Do you think me some lightweight? Bring me twice this many.
I saw the crowd's eyes widen, and they drew in a collective breath. I was still at a loss to why this was such a big deal. Then the barkeep walked past me with the second platter of mugs, and I got a good whiff of the contents. I nearly pushed my stomach out of my mouth. This was the source of the stomach-turning stench, which I realized was the scent of alcohol. They were about to see who could drink the most alcohol. They were insane. It would kill them. Well, I wasn't so sure it would kill Clint. I've seen him ingest some weird stuff. The mugs were divided evenly among the participants, 6 for each. Clint reached out and grabbed one. In a swift motion, he put the rim to his mouth and tossed his head back. He drank fast, and the mug was soon empty. He slammed the mug down on the table, rattling the other mugs. He kept his eyes focused on the earth the whole time. The earth licked his lips and reached for his drink.
"I'll give you one chance to back down," said Clint. "I won't have you die on my account."
The earth snarled at Clint and threw back his mug, hastily gulping down the toxic liquid inside. He finished it, much slower than Clint, and banged it on the table. Clint raised his eyebrow and he grabbed for the next mug, finishing it and slamming it on the table, keeping eye contact with the earth through all of it. This continued for 4 more rounds until there was only 1 more mug in front of each of the combatants. The earth was visibly affected, shaking and slobbering. Clint was stone-faced, calm and peaceful. I don't even want to think about what I would have been like after a single mug of alcohol. Clint had managed 5. 6 if you count the one he'd had before the contest, and he seemed fine. Clint reached for his last mug and drained it as fast as the first. The earth looked positively ill, pale and sweaty. He glanced at the mug in front of him. He reached out an arm hesitantly, his face contorted. Clint looked at the earth and smiled.
"Bottoms up,"
Clint said with a wry smile. The earth grabbed the mug and dumped it into his mouth. He swallowed and smiled. Clint stared at the earth, and then he slowly fell backwards and landed on the floor with a thud.
"Or belly up, in your case,"
chuckled Clint. The bar erupted into pandemonium. Clint had drank 6 mugs of alcohol, a potent poison, potent enough to drop an earth, and he was fine. Better than fine if my eyes weren't lying. Clint had a little smile on his face and a happy glaze in his eyes. We stayed for a while longer, Clint drinking the whole time, until someone thought to check to see if the erg was okay and found he was dead. We got out of there as fast as we could, not wishing to wait for the authorities. There could have been some awkward questions or even awkwarder answers. We got back to the ship and flew off into the stars, our flight path a little shaky. Must have been something wrong with the stabilizers. And that's how Clint Stone killed an Earth without touching him. To this day, Clint swears he didn't know the beer would kill the Earth, but I knew differently. The Earth speeder outside of the bar had the symbol of the Srun Empire, and even then, Clint had plans for the Empire. But that's a story for another time.
This has been a recording by Uncle Lyle for my fiancé and anyone who loves HFY.